What's going on, guys, and welcome back to another video, and welcome to your stimulus package update and daily news report for Sunday, January 23rd. So tomorrow is a big day. Tomorrow is the first day that people in the United States can file their 2021 federal tax returns. This means they can request their $1,400 stimulus checks if they didn't receive them. They can request the remaining balance of their $3,000 or $3,600 child tax credit payments. Everybody can claim the child care tax credit of up to $8,000 for 2 children. And this is the time when you can claim all your face masks, at-home COVID tests, and any other personal protective equipment that you have had to purchase over the past year. That's tax deductible as well. So if you purchase anything, make sure you claim that. Okay? Now, I know a lot of people have been waiting for this day so that they can actually go and get some of the money that they've been dishing out. So they can get some of the money that the federal government was supposed to send them, last year, or even throughout the year through the child tax credit payments. Parents with just one child under the age of 5 are going to get at least $1,800 back if they did receive part of, and that's the $300 per month from their child tax credit payments that were monthly. Those that never received your $1,400 stimulus checks, you can request it now. You will receive it now. Parents who had a child born in 2021, guess what? You wouldn't have received the $1,400 payments, even though you were eligible, so you can get that now. Chances are you didn't get the, all the payments or even some of the payments of the $3,600 child tax credit payments, so you can get that now. Guess what? $3,600, $1,400, you get a $5,000 payment. Even if your child was born on, let's say, December 28th, 29th, 30th of 2021, you would get those payments. You would get $5,000. Okay? So most people don't realize that, but that is the case. You would get this money. Now, these payments are going to be extremely helpful to millions of Americans, but also keep in mind that the IRS is still overloaded with returns from the filing season of last year. So if you're able to, then file your taxes as soon as possible, because experts are warning Americans that waiting to file your tax return would likely cause additional waiting periods, and it would take much longer to process. So don't do that. Now, the White House has also stated that the customer service provided by the IRS is not what the American people deserve. But the truth is, Congress is the only one with the ability to provide additional funding to the IRS. And right now, this additional funding is actually tied up in the Build Back Better Act. And currently, the Build Back Better Act is going through a complete revamp before it will even get considered. So just keep that in mind. The issues at the IRS are not going to be resolved anytime soon. It's going to take a little bit. And in just my expectation, the IRS funding gets pulled from the Build Back Better Act before it gets negotiated again. So if you're hoping that the IRS is going to be able to do a little bit better and speed things up, it's probably not going to happen. So I wouldn't count on that. Now, let's address the Build Back Better Act now that we're discussing it, because let's kind of break this down, because there is something that's being asked in the Senate. Senator Bernie Sanders, he is calling on Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer to schedule votes on parts of the Build Back Better Act. He says that he wants to see chunks like prescription drug pricing and climate change voted on. And he states that Republicans are laughing all the way to Election Day because they have not had to cast one single vote. That's what he said this morning. Now, I just want to reiterate something. By voting for Democrats to push for a vote, what it's going to do, because we already know pretty much the fate of the vote, what's going to happen is we're not going to see anything pass. It's going to pretty much be voted on along party lines except for two people, Senator Joe Manchin and Kyrsten Sinema. Now here's the problem. If Democrats push to get a vote, done, what's going to happen is it's going to show the American people really where Senator Joe Manchin and Kyrsten Sinema stand. These are two Democrats. Here's the problem. This is why, according to reports, this is why Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer doesn't actually want to go through with this, is because if he asks them to vote, we already know what's going to look like. But for the American people, this is going to be a really eye-opening thing. Okay, there's 48 Democrats that vote yes to pass, voting rights bill, or change the filibuster, or pass the Build Back Better Act as it stands now. But then you got 50 Republicans that vote no. You got 2 Democrats that also vote with the Republicans. That's a problem. Chances are, and according to multiple reports, what would likely happen is it's going to put more pressure on Senator Joe Manchin, more pressure on Senator Kyrsten Sinema, and they could actually lose the next election. Now, take that into consideration. If you're a Democrat, do you want other Democrats to lose? And then you'd give the majority over to the Republicans in the House and the Senate? No, that's not what a Democrat would want. But even the fact that right now, Democrats do hold the majority. It's a 50-50 majority, but with Kamala Harris as the tie-breaking vote. Here's the problem. Kamala Harris would not be a tie-breaking vote. No more if Republicans now have a majority of 52 to 48. They wouldn't have such a big majority, though. Now, it would be tougher to get things passed, but for the Democratic agenda to get anything passed through a Republican majority in the House and the Senate, it's not going to happen. There's no way that's going to happen. Now, I see this in the comments all the time, and I really want to address this because in the comments, and I see this on Twitter as well, that Democrats need to break up the Build Back Better Act, have separate votes in order to get their agenda passed. And I understand where everybody's coming from. I understand it. It would be much easier to break down the bill, this big, $1.75 or $2.2 trillion, Build Back Better Act. Break it down into different pieces or chunks, like President Biden says. But just like Nancy Pelosi said this past week, Democrats don't have an unlimited amount of reconciliation bills. And therefore, they will only be able to get certain chunks of the Build Back Better Act agenda passed. Now, this is where the problem actually lies. Which provisions get passed first? And I can tell you this. Progressives aren't going to allow moderates to get an agenda passed, especially their agenda passed first, when they were the ones that held up the bill in the first place. If you remember, moderates, Joe Manchin, Josh Gottheimer, they wanted to see the $1.2 trillion bipartisan infrastructure bill passed first, and then they would vote on the $2.2 trillion or $1.75 trillion infrastructure bill after the fact. That was great. Progressives said, okay, after some convincing from President Biden, they said, okay, we will help you pass the $1.2 trillion bill, and then you will vote on our bill next. Well, guess what? The votes never happened. So you think progressives are going to come to the aid of moderates? No, absolutely not. And now let's address this from the moderates' standpoint. Moderates don't want progressives to get their agenda passed first because they don't want the entire bill to pass anyway. And that's what progressives want. They want big, transformative spending, a big bill. That's what they want. So where do Democrats go from here? That's the problem. This is the question that everybody has, yet nobody has an answer. Nobody has an answer. Now, and again, I bring this up because that's the problem, is that there's not an unlimited amount of reconciliation bills. If there were, then yes, that would be a possible solution. But there's not. We do know that right now, many Democrats and every single Republican doesn't want to see this entire bill pass. And so it's going to have to be pretty much watered down. And we don't know how far. We have no clue. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens moving forward. What I can tell you, though, is this week should be an interesting week. Chances are we're going to see the stock market decline. As the stock market declines, the American people are going to get a little bit more jittery, anxious, because it's not only people that are investing into stocks, but it's retirements. People on Social Security, elderly, right? There's issues. We're going to have issues when we see this moving forward. And now let's get into some COVID news for today. Pfizer's CEO has stated that frequent boosters are not a good scenario. He also argued that fighting the virus would be done best through an annual vaccine. Now, the reason behind this, he is saying that there are times of the year when COVID cases are going to likely surge. These are the winter months. This is when people are more indoors. Now, because of this, health experts say that getting a COVID booster right before the winter would give people the best protection over the winter months, because we know the booster shot's efficacy wears down. So as long as it can stay somewhat high when COVID cases are high, then it would reduce the overall risk throughout the winter months. So that's what we're hearing at this time. But that is what we know. That's what we know regarding stimulus, regarding the payments from the IRS and COVID cases. So if you have any questions whatsoever, please ask your questions down in the comment section below. Just want to thank you guys for watching. Have a wonderful rest of your Sunday. Consider subscribing, and I'll see you guys on the next one.